Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later because we're misbehaving today. Check this guy out.
Bumblebee reporting for duty.
Yes, up for consideration here we have a brand new second stab at Bumblebee by Robosen, and it's fully transformable this time and features plenty of interactivity besides, as we're going to see. Big thanks to Robosen for sending this guy my way, and you will of course find a link to all the various places that you can order him down in the description below, so do go ahead and check that out if indeed you're still interested at the end of the video, and you'll also find a link to my regular channel sponsor TFnation, so do check them out for all your Transformers needs. Kicking us off today, the outer box is rather swish. It's got some nice character art on there with this kind of hollow foil effect which catches the light beautifully. As with previous Robosen releases, Bumblebee comes packaged in this kind of hard suitcase shell, which is kind of nice to see. All you got to do is pop it open and then slide the top off, and then you can see the figure inside. Then it's just the simple matter of getting him out of there, although it's a bit of a two-hand job as the motors are not activated yet. Not forgetting the various other bump, which includes the charging cables and the instructions, under which you'll also find the character's weapon as well. Additionally, there's this very cute little Volkswagen Beetle package, which if you flip it open reveals a collector coin inside, so that's pretty swish. Really though, it's the figure itself which is the true showstopper here, because this thing looks absolutely beautiful right out of the box. That licensed Volkswagen Beetle mode is just glorious, and the proportions of it, everything, it's just so nice, honestly. And it is worth acknowledging right off the bat that this is of course a full-size Volkswagen Beetle, not the kind of chibified, squished proportions that are so often associated with G1 Bumblebee, and I think it's better for it, honestly, in this case. I know Masterpiece has kind of moved away from that and whatever else, but this thing looks exactly like the MP21 toy in so many ways, and truly, it's just breathtaking. I mean, there has always been something about Transformers with licensed vehicle modes, and this is just proof of that, honestly. Like, I think if you're a big car enthusiast, or you just like Volkswagen Beetles in general, this could be a great display piece, even without all the kind of extra mechanics and robot bits and whatever else this thing does. Like, just the car mode by itself, on a shelf, glorious. Now, when you first get this guy out of the box, he's absolutely covered in protective plastic, which I've already removed on my copy, but you can appreciate many of the finer details going on here, such as those lovely headlights, which do light up as well, as we're going to see. Got some very shiny hubcaps on the wheels, complete with the little VW logo as well, so that's super cool. Interestingly, he does have side mirrors on both sides, unlike the Masterpiece, which has only got the one, and these are actually made of little squishy rubber type plastic just there, so that's probably a good idea so that they don't get broken, but it is still fun to see. Some very nice silver on areas such as the door handles and the little trim around the windows as well, that looks great. At the rear we've got little red lights as well, of course, and then again a slightly rubberfied bumper, so you're not going to break that in any way. Some people may be a bit disappointed by that, but I think it's pretty smart, honestly, on a figure of this nature that's going to move around a lot. That said, the front bumper is actually hard plastic, although the wheels are rubber as well, so some people will be pleased to see that, I've no doubt. Generally really nice attention to detail, as you can see from things like the windscreen wipers being painted black, even though the actual trim of the window is silver, so that's appreciated. And then you've got that very prominent and kind of raised embossed Autobot logo as well, which is painted in red, and just generally speaking, I can't say enough nice things about it. Honestly, it looks so good. The colour of the kind of yellowy orange that they've chosen is sublime, catches the light beautifully as well, the finish of it, it's all just beautifully presented, what can I say? Now before we get to switching the thing on, it is just interesting to see how it shapes up next to the Masterpiece figure, and this isn't the most recent Masterpiece, which was MP45, which had the kind of squished proportions. This is the original Masterpiece Bumblebee, which is MP21, and it's so fascinating because honestly they look very similar in a lot of regards. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not identical. This little guy's got a VW logo on the bonnet just there, which this guy does not have. This has got the one wing mirror, this has got two just there, it's got the little extra one, so there are some variances between them. Obviously there's no Autobot logo on the bonnet just here like there is on the Masterpiece, so you can see the differences, but the shape of them, and as we're going to see, the way they transform is very familiar. Then here you can see him versus the teeny tiny and rather chibified G1 toy, and of course it's absolutely gigantic versus that 1984 figure. We've come a long way, it seems. But then here you can see him versus the first Robosen Bumblebee in their alternate modes, and honestly, I can't really tell them apart. Perhaps on a more serious note, here you can see him versus Robosen's last big Transformers effort, and that of course was Megatron, and I feel like anyone who's even slightly concerned about appropriate vehicle mode scale is going to have something to say about this pairing, but still, it's fun to see nonetheless. And likewise with Grimlock, I mean, in case it's not overly obvious by now. I don't think Robosen are particularly concerned with scale necessarily. It's a bit like the earliest days of Masterpiece in that regard, where like each figure is kind of like its own thing and like a bit of a showcase all by itself. So it is what it is. It either bothers you or it doesn't. And in my case, it really doesn't. And no surprise, it's the same with Optimus Prime as well, Robosen's first figure. And of course, this is the larger flagship version. If you were to get the slightly smaller Elite version, then you would find that, of course, this effect is even more compounded. So yeah, scale is not really a thing, as I say, but they still look kind of awesome together. And I will say that actually this comparison really shows off how advanced Bumblebee feels. Like, Optimus is still cool, don't get me wrong, but you can absolutely see the technological improvements, the style enhancements, everything going into each figure as they kind of evolve from one to the next. And Bumblebee really feels like it outclasses that earlier release in quite a number of regards, to be honest. And again, the licensed vehicle mode thing is just the cherry on the cake. So we've established this thing looks pretty, but what can it actually do? Well, the first step is to flip open this little roof, just here, this little roof section, and then you can power him on using this little button here, at which point he should come to life.
Hiya, friend. Bumblebee here.
Now, you're not mistaken, that is the voice of Dan Gilbazan, who voiced Bumblebee back in the original 1980s cartoon. Robosen already got him in for the Performance Bumblebee version that they did, and now he's back for this one as well, so that is very cool. Of course, now he's awake, we get stuff like the lights having been activated here, and indeed the ones on the rear bumper. And of course, the biggest tell is that he now responds to your voice commands, such as, "Hey Bumblebee."
How's it going?
Roll forward. I think what's especially cool in this case is that you can actually move the wheels from side to side as well, meaning that you're able to kind of fully steer him about, but you might just want to make sure that you've got plenty of room to do that. Alternatively, all of this could be controlled via the accompanying Bluetooth app, which is very easy to use and includes a little manual joystick as well, so if you don't want to use the voice commands, this could be a good way to go. It all adds up to mean that Bumblebee is terrific fun in his Volkswagen mode, and even if you didn't have the transforming capability, which of course you do, you'd still get a lot of enjoyment from just whizzing it around your house, very much as my son has already, let's put it that way. Really though, it's just half the fun, because of course we want to go ahead and get him transformed, which you can do with a simple command of, "Hey B,
How's it going?
transform."
Bumblebee reporting for duty.
As with all Robosen products, the transformation is simply incredible to witness, although in this case it feels particularly smooth, more akin to the likes of Grimlock and Megatron that we've seen more recently, and certainly a step up from stuff like the original Optimus, as I've already mentioned. And again, the whole thing is hugely reminiscent of MP21 Bumblebee, to the point where there's genuinely no doubt that that was clearly the inspiration for the engineering at play here.
Bumblebee reporting for duty.
And once you're done, you're left with a very handsome depiction of the character, which feels quite spot on to Bumblebee's depiction in the classic cartoon. The design sensibility here is very different to the previous Robosen Bumblebee, which was a lot more kind of simplified and cartoon accurate in its way, and again this guy just looks the spitting image of MP21 to me. Honestly, I can see the aesthetic of this guy really appealing to a lot of collectors, especially those that were maybe not so sold on the previous non-transforming attempt. If nothing else, this thing actually looks like a toy in many ways. Like, obviously it can transform, but it has all the kind of design cues of your typical Transformers retail toy in that regard. Like, it just happens to transform by itself, so I can see it being a big hit in many ways. Even the head design has been significantly reworked from the performance version, and again just looks very close to MP21, but I really think it works. It's kind of nice and angular, and it's handsome as well, so it's pretty evergreen if anything. Of course, you got things like this fake window at the front here to kind of create the right proportions, because the back window flips over, and again that's straight from MP21's playbook. A bit like the performance version, the hands don't actually move, save for wiggling the thumb a little bit, if indeed that's something you really want to do. Fairly sizable backpack on this guy, as is maybe to be expected these days with Bumblebee toys. I really don't mind it, I think it cleans up pretty nice overall. And exactly like on MP21, you've got the bulk of the car mode kind of swinging around to the back of the feet here, which actually gives it a bit of stability as well, so maybe that's a good thing in this case. There's no doubt it's a pretty massive pair of feet overall, but I think it kind of suits the character. He's always had big feet, that's just who he is. And dare I say, there's not really a lot to dislike here. I mean, it's very different from their previous design for this character, but honestly it works. I mean, here you can see a direct side-by-side comparison of those two Robosen Bumblebee models, and there's no doubt that they look very different overall. Obviously on account of this new one having to transform and whatever else, but the proportions are significantly different. He's a lot bigger, a lot chunkier, he's got bigger feet, just less kind of simplified and animation styled and whatever else, but I think I kind of prefer it overall. Like, I really think it looks great. Maybe it's the fact that I'm such a big fan of MP21 anyway. I mean, it's definitely my preferred version of the two Masterpiece Bumblebees that we've had so far by quite a large margin. And I just think it's really excellent. Like, it's for me one of the kind of definitive cartoon-style Bumblebee toys of all time. So Robosen basing their design off of it just feels like it's a good idea, in my opinion. It really, really works. And the two of them are quite a nice accompaniment for one another. Just like with Grimlock and MP8. It's logical. I don't know. It makes sense to me. And of course, this guy's an absolute monster when it comes to a comparison with the G1 toy, or the kind of cartoon-style reissue in this case, which is just really, really funny to see. Major don't talk to me or my son vibes, right? Really though, I'm sure the comparison we all want to check out is with the other Robosen stuff. And it's kind of weird because, again, Bumblebee is so large that he definitely looks out of scale versus stuff like the flagship Optimus Prime. And as I mentioned before, that's only going to be compounded if you've got the Elite version to hand. But still, I guess it is what it is, you know. It would have been nice to have them scaled with one another, but I kind of get why it's not the case as well. And there's no doubt that even though Bumblebee is so ridiculously large versus Prime, that they still look kind of cute together. I will also say that you can absolutely see the kind of extra fit and polish that's gone into Bumblebee versus the early days of Optimus. So absolutely you can see all of that advancement on display once you get them side by side. The really funny comparison though is versus Grimlock, because they're basically the same size, which is really funny to see because you've got what is traditionally known as one of the largest Autobots and one of the smallest, and they stand at the same head height. So I don't know what to tell you. It's the scale that they've gone with for these projects. Again, I kind of get why it is, but no doubt some people are going to have something to say about that. But still, they're both great fun products. Then we can see him versus Megatron, who is a little bit larger, so maybe that kind of works, although B is still pretty massive here. I think at this point we just need to put scale completely to the side and just not worry about it. It's fair to say there is some cross-compatibility with these guys in the app function, so they are designed to work together, but clearly scale is not the most overriding concern in terms of the design here. In any case, it's time to turn our attention back to B himself and check out some of that functionality, which all begins with a series of voice commands to get the actions going. And you simply kick things off by saying, "Hey Bumblebee," or simply, "Hey B."
How's it going?
Introduce yourself.
Hey, my name's Bumblebee, a Decepticon's worst nightmare. Come on, guys. There's a battle out there. Let's team up and take down the Decepticons. Don't worry, Spike. We're gonna kick Megatron's tail across the galaxy. Hey, friends. Bumblebee here. Time to stir things up with some April Fool's jokes on my Autobot buddies. Happy April Fool's Day to everyone. May your pranks be clever and your laughs be plenty. Where are the Dinobots? We need to find the Dinobots. We need their help.
And then there are more actions which require the use of his gun accessory, which can just be slotted into his hand.
Prepare for battle. How's this? Woohoo! I was born battle ready. Time to blast some cons.
As with previous Robosen products, it's all a lot of fun to witness, and whilst he doesn't do anything like the big kung fu kicks that Optimus Prime did, there's still plenty going on here, and I do think it's kind of cool that they seem to have given it all new actions versus the performance Bumblebee. It's not just like a straight replication of the voice clips and everything found on that one, so props to Robosen for that. Now, as mentioned before, it's not just the voice commands, there are many more actions found in the accompanying app, and you can download some new ones as well. Likewise, if you prefer, you can control him using the remote control control menu as well, including walking and various other actions, so that's rather swish. Alternatively, as highlighted in my previous Robosen videos, you can create your own actions as well, whether it's via the manual menu where you physically manipulate the toy and then sync the actions with the app to create custom sequences, or alternatively with the block-based programming menu where you can actually create those custom sequences in the app itself and then get the robot to play them out after. I've talked about these customization features plenty of times in previous videos, as I say, but they still represent for me the greatest meat and potatoes when it comes to ongoing engagement with products like this. All in then, there's quite a lot to like about Robosen Bumblebee. I mean, it's kind of a strange product in many ways, having already seen this company's attempt at this character in non-transforming style, but I am pleased that they came back and did another go at it, especially as that licensed VW alt mode is just too good for words. But that aside, there's still plenty of functionality to keep you entertained here, and it does feel like this has the kind of spit and polish that we've come to expect from the company's more recent output with like Megatron and Grimlock and things like this. It's absolutely comparable to that. And again, as I said earlier, you can see the evolution quite clearly from the earlier stuff like Optimus Prime. So all in, I'm really impressed, and I'm sure you will be too. And to that end, I'll include a list of the various places that you can find Robosen Bumblebee up for order down in the video description below, so go and check him out if indeed you want such a thing. I'll also include a link to my regular channel sponsor TFsource, so you will find that in the description below as well, so go and check him out for all your Transformers needs. And I'd also be very grateful if you could leave me a like for this effort as well, please. But otherwise, that's it from me, so have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.